My guest today is someone who I think is a very brave woman, and I want to thank her for coming on to the show. It takes a lot of guts in this day and age, and she's part of a viral video, but we're going to get into why that was viral and the whole discussion about it and dive deep into all the things that she's been facing. And let me thankfully welcome Chrissy Nelson. Welcome back to normal.
Thank you so much for having me.
Very welcome. Here, I'll put your graphic on the screen here for everybody at home to see. Chrissy, you went viral. I'm going to show this to the audience in a second. For this video, you are a Pembroke mother. Mm-hmm. Your daughter is in Pembroke schools. She is a varsity track athlete.
Yes.
And faced some challenging situations. So I'm gonna start the video, and then we can get into the conversation here. So for the audience at home, here we go.
So this past weekend, just a couple of days ago on Sunday, and the entire weekend, there was the Northeast Invitational for our winter track team. Fabulous team, fabulous coaches, just so incredible. And I just wanted to just let you guys know that there was one female runner that came in 9th place, and the top 8 out of the running of the competition of all the races, I think there was up to 40 heats. Out of those top 8 then go on to finals. And so when an athlete comes in 9th, that athlete can no longer compete in finals, and those scores that they get in finals are no longer recorded and eligible for colleges to see. So when a 9th place person came in and was unable to compete, in that top 8 was a biological male. And those preliminary race times were not considered at all. So this female athlete from Pembroke was my daughter. And when a female cannot be noticed by colleges, they cannot be recruited, they cannot receive college scholarships, and their dreams are crushed. These Pembroke female athletes, it's not just my daughter, there's been many more, and I have seen them firsthand. I'm at all the meets. They are not getting their medals, and they're not getting their colleges opportunities. It's being stolen from them. One day, it could be your daughter. I'm not talking just about today. I'm talking about years to come. It could be your daughter working so hard and showing such great talent, but not able to make the finals. So I'm here today bringing this important issue to your attention purely because I think that there's some school policies that need to be changed. I think we need to prioritize that biological sex is used as a term as opposed to gender and gender identity. I think that language needs to be really common and embedded in to Pembroke. And when it comes to girls' sports, girls and spaces, of course, as well. And even more, if you could petition the MIAA, on behalf of our Pembroke female athletes to change their rules so that biological males cannot compete in biological female sports, just like the 2 Supreme Court cases that happened just this morning on this very topic. Protect our Pembroke girls today and for the future of them. Please help make competition fair.
Wow. So that video got millions of views all across the internet. And I admire you for standing up for your daughter, for standing up for all the female athletes at Pembroke. It takes a lot of guts. You know, I could tell, I mean, you know, you and I were in the same room, we're talking, but it's probably a little bit nerve-wracking in front of the school committee. You're publicly speaking. There's a lot of people, probably some fair amount of people that disagree with you, but you're trying to compose your thoughts together. So can you do, I really want to hear from you and your experience and your daughter's experience with that meet itself and the events around that. So if you don't mind telling the audience what that was like.
Yeah. So for that meet in particular, my daughter is a very talented athlete, and she goes into her meets with a lot of focus and determination and hard work. When she came up against this same athlete during this competition in particular, this meet, it wasn't the first time.
Okay.
She had come up against him several other times and in previous seasons. And so by this point, it was kind of like enough is enough kind of feel
Okay.
for her and I.
Yeah.
And when when she tells me what it feels like in the moment when she has to line up with him and then actually get on the blocks with him, and there's this feeling of nobody's really comfortable, and she is very uncomfortable, and she notices the girls around her being uncomfortable, and she notices that this male is flaunting and very loud and vocal and talking about how much he doesn't think he'll do good, but yet all these girls are here to really try their best. And so she felt like it was almost like a diversion tactic, and that kind of, this isn't the first time that she's accomplished.
Well, boys and girls are different. The way they approach sports is different. I have a daughter. She's an athlete. She plays sports. It is one of these things, and I used to coach, right? And I know it's just observable. Men and women are different. Males and females are different. They perform differently. They behave differently. Mm-hmm. And depending on the sport, boys are more aggressive. Well, I know. Let me say this. Regardless of the sport, boys are more aggressive. And the way they express that aggression on the field or on the track or wherever comes through. And how they interact with the refs, how they interact with the other team, how they talk. A lot of trash talking, those things like that. And girls not so much sometimes, but so
common, though.
Yeah, so it's an outlier, right? So your daughter and her teammates and the other girls in those track meets experienced an outlier that is uncomfortable, and they rightly felt that. I think that's got to be an intimidating situation.
That's exactly the word.
Yeah.
She felt like she felt intimidated and felt like she really couldn't perform her best because of his presence, his very strong presence.
Yeah.
So that was one piece of it. I think that there was that. But also to actually lose to him, I think was a first, and it was a devastating moment.
Yeah.
And so she came out of that race in particular, because it's multiple events, not just one, that they have to race together in the same lineup. She came out of it just feeling like this isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
I've got more years ahead of me. I want to race in college. I have hopes and dreams. I want to move on. She's like, and if I could even move on to Olympics, I absolutely want to make that happen.
Yeah.
So to have an athlete who has these really high hopes and dreams to feel like defeated or intimidated, it's just not fair. And I think that fairness is what kind of overarched the entire decision to be able to speak up and speak out.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And I think when I started the show, the name of the show came to me. It was Back to Normal. And, play on words, but also, this is abnormal. This is abnormal, what's taking place. And it's taking place all across the country, at schools, middle schools, high schools, college, Riley Gaines in college and college swimming. It's happening all over the place. What happened to your daughter and all the other female athletes across the country and in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is unfair by its very definition. And we need to as parents. Let me a quick aside here. I've had some other parents on the show about unfair practices in schools. Some of the early episodes got a lot of attention, and it's great. And it's I'm going to speak for dads and men out there. You got to step it up because the moms are the ones leading the charge on this. And I'm like, there's some guys involved too, but the moms are leading the charge on this. And kudos to them, and that's great. And they're standing up for their daughters. But men and fathers need to get involved. It needs to be it can't just be the ladies, carrying the weight of this thing. Both parents need to get involved and start pushing back on this stuff.
So for me, my husband is 1,000% behind me.
Oh no, I'm great, but you were the viral video. You did a great job on that.
But I'm also the parent that experienced women's sports.
Okay. Oh, you were an athlete yourself?
Absolutely.
What sport were you in?
Track and field, but also volleyball. And so when I competed in high school and college, this wasn't an issue. There were no boys against us.
Yeah.
I've never been spiked in the face by a volleyball male athlete. In track and field, it was always fair. I always had my chance to get my time, and it was always against others who were biologically compatible with me. So this just feels completely different. Another example for me is I still play volleyball, and I'm a part of just a local co-ed adult volleybable.
Yeah, for fun.
Just for fun.
Sports are great.
So fun.
Sports are lots of fun.
Yeah,
we should continue to do it into our adulthood.
We're a little competitive, but at the same time, it's co-ed, and so the men in my league would never do a full force spike.
Right.
And so every single one of them tames it down, and their spikes are nice and gentle, so we can dig them up every time.
Okay. Yeah.
So there has to be this contention piece of I'm a male, I know I'm stronger, and I don't want to hurt females.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things, that there's a balance between male-female relationships since, I don't know, thousands upon thousands of years, right? There are things like we can't have children. That's pretty much your responsibility. Yeah. We can help, get you there, but it's like, and then there's more traditional, call it the gender roles we know, right? From that has developed over society over thousands of years and evolution and all of those things. And we can't just flip a switch and turn that off because there's some new ideology that comes into play, and that's warping the sense of sanity that all of us have known, and we actually recognize in our DNA that something's not right. This is wrong, right? There's objectively wrong things that are taking place. I think that 95% of humans get this, but there is some weird situation we find ourselves in where the 5 to 10% have worked their way into these institutions and power structures where they affect the rest of the 90-95. And it is going to take a while for us to unwind this stuff, because I want to get into some of the work you're doing, and we'll touch on that in a second, because I have a couple questions. I know there's been some petitions and some letters we're writing to organizations and all of those things. But back to the video for a second. What after you spoke, and it's been a few months, that was the first time you spoke at the Pembroke School Committee, correct?
January 13th.
Okay, so January 13th. So we're about 4 months away from that. What has been your experience? What was maybe feedback's the wrong word, but what was the response that you got from the officials in the Pembroke schools, maybe the superintendent, maybe the school board? What happened after that, after you spoke?
Well, radio silence.
Okay.
Even after I had emailed off a petition and sent that to the superintendent, the principal, the athletic director, and then over to the president of the MIAA. Radio silence. Nothing. When it comes to the school committee, it really didn't kind of show itself until this last school committee meeting last week.
Okay.
And so that's a whole nother can of worms.
If you want to open the can, you're more than welcome to. But if you don't, rather not, it's up to your call. Do you want to talk about what happened this week? Or
so this week was the actual vote whether Pembroke School Committee and Pembroke Public Schools should send a letter to the MIA. And so there was one school committee member who actually drafted a letter that would actually, instead of just saying, "Hey, let's make sure there's no boys and girls sports," it was more of on the behalf of our constituents. We are requesting a working group to actually sit and discuss this amongst the MIA.
So just like even this is the smallest toe in the water of this thing. So just something that says, let's talk about it. Not even action, not a rule, nothing, but let's talk about it. Okay. So what was the outcome of that request or that from that member of the school board?
So that member drafted it, did a wonderful job, and she really was eloquent about how she wanted to go about it and received zero feedback from anybody else. And so there's more that I want to get into about the inclusion versus exclusion, I think, was the number one issue that the other 4 school committee members brought up.
Okay, can you describe that for everybody, what they're talking about? Inclusion versus exclusion. I could make a guess, but what were they specifically talking about?
So to make a long story short, pretty much the other 4, really 3, one didn't even come and didn't vote, which happened to be the chair. But the other 3 basically just said that because we don't want to exclude anyone in the school, we don't want that language to be present in our policy, or we feel like it's not even a necessary reason to contact the MIA. So
so they dodged it, kind of. Is that all right?
And so they're talking about excluding a minority group, which would be transgender students, which is a very small percentage. However, what they never once touched on was the fact that they're actually excluding another minority group, which is women. Yeah.
So this is a good point, and I'm glad you brought it up. And this needs to be discussed because this isn't if from the approach of those 3 members who are going to use that kind of language, the progressive doublespeak that we often hear about all kinds of issues. It's excluding it, or it's all of the names and name calling that people have experienced when they try to stand up for something that's against the progressive narrative. You can't win against that, in the sense that we're excluding those transgender students. Do you know what the answer to that is, Chrissy? And I'm saying this is me. This is Jeff's opinion, not yours. Yes, we are excluding them from female sports. They should not be permitted to play those sports. They are biological males, and there's a place for them. And that place is with the boys. And they will not, most politicians are cowardly about this, and that goes down to school committee members. Like, they don't want to catch the flack. So there take some brave people like yourself, and perhaps that one member who drafted the letter who might agree with you, to stand up and say, yes, it's exclusionary. We're excluding them. Just like they should be excluded from locker rooms. Just like you should be excluded from taking away from your video that we showed earlier, taking away opportunities from female athletes. So when they say that, unfortunately, we have to understand, think about it, because they're going to shock you and go, you're excluding people. And we have to say, yes, we are. Correct, we are excluding them. And here's why. And here's why that is right. And that they're not being deprived of opportunities. They have a place they can run on the boys' team because they're a biological male. And as we do that, we can shift the narrative back to some sort of sanity that we all agree to. But they're good at these things, and they're in these positions. So I don't know if we got to did they kind of brush it aside with this letter to the MIA? It just is just not happening. It's not going to be sent, or what was the eventual outcome?
outcome was just no letter to be sent and moving on.
All right, new business. Oh, boy. All right. So that's where we are now as of this week. And what feedback did you get from people in Pembroke? Parents, community members, parents of teammates. What was it like after this? So obviously, I mean, you're kind of internet famous a little bit, for better or for worse, but I think for better. What did you hear back from, and all of it? Tell me what's been going on since you originally spoke up at the school committee.
There has been many people talking to me, emailing me, messaging me, who are absolutely in alignment. Many people from the town, a few from the team, many other parents of other towns.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Athletes that feel like they just can't speak up. And so the common theme that I'm hearing from multiple families is that there's such a peer pressure around inclusion that these students, athletes, just feel like they can't even voice their true opinion. They can't speak truth. And even if they wanted to bring some data into their so-called debate or even just a conversation that's very basic, they will immediately be shut down. They'll be called bully and all of these really tactical
this is intentional.
ways.
It's intentional.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And so it's across the board. It's happening for high school athletes. It's happening for students in general, for spaces where, girls are feeling very uncomfortable having boys in their bathrooms. The same idea. And then parents feeling the same way. I mean, for me in particular, I didn't feel like I really had anybody who could say to me, I will fight with you.
Yeah.
Every other parent on the track team had nothing to say. They wanted to change the subject right away.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's tough. Here's the unfortunate reality of where we find ourselves. Is there are still a lot of folks, and you're not one of them because you stood up, and there's other parents out there that have sort of woken up to the craziness and trying to stop it. But intimidating people, insulting them, calling them names, shutting down speech, shutting down debate, intimidating the girls who speak up and want to do something different is the tactic that progressives are employing, and it works. It's effective, right? Because
absolutely.
and I struggle to say, well, for folks, you got to stand up and you got to be forthright in what you believe, and I know that's hard. It is a hard thing to do. It takes courage. You're going to get the slings and arrows from people around you. You're going to get dirty looks from some people in your community. But if you believe it's the right thing to do, you can make the case. And I saw this online always. Massachusetts, America, Pembroke people, be very suspicious of the people who don't want a conversation, because those people are usually wrong, and they know if a conversation happens that they're going to lose the argument, and they'll lose power, and they'll lose influence. So for those who are struggling with this, like you said, or in the midst of this, we got to keep plugging away. But I'm just, I got to tell you, I'm a bit disappointed that some of the folks, the parents on the team were kind of like, I don't want to deal with this.
It's scare tactic. They've been scared into submission.
Yeah.
The other piece is social media has been a very interesting angle on all of this.
Tell me more about that.
So this to me is a topic that is really not political per se. This is to me very neutral. It is experiential. It is what folks go through in their day-to-day life, and especially high schoolers and young people are really experiencing it the most. But for some groups to then start making rude comments or shutting down any conversation, even the name calling that's happening. There's some folks that I would consider a friend that have actually said really incredibly rude things.
Wow.
To me, about me,
Yeah.
my daughter. Yeah. And so it's become political in that way where it's never meant to be that way. It's me telling you my experience and how unfair it is.
I think, well, for somebody this has been thrust upon, like yourself and your daughter, right? You're like, well, you want to think to yourself, this isn't supposed to be political, right? You know, this is just that they want to run a track meet. They want to excel, get into college, maybe a scholarship, run it, you know, and your daughter, Olympic dreams. Normal people go, that's not political. Yeah. So I heard this, I'm going to paraphrase this from somebody that I heard. It's like, well, too bad. You're going to be made to think that it's political by them. You don't have a choice in the matter. We don't have a choice in the matter. It's being thrust upon us, and whether we like it or not. And it is the reality. Believe me, I'm a political animal. You're on a political show. And this is what I do. And we get involved with it, and we can get into some of the politics and in a little bit. But I do this because I see things that I think are wrong in the world, and I want to change them for the better. And if all were great and thumbs up, you know what I'd do? I'd go home and watch the Masters right now. Today's Masters Sunday when we're recording this. So, and it's a beautiful day. I take the dog for a walk. But you know what? You can't, if you want things to be better in your community, in your state, in your country, you got to get involved. And the way we get involved is by talking, debating, politics, voting, elections, all of it. Yeah. So you touched on the social media. So this is social media directed at you, negative comments directed at you, but at the girls who are standing up too, or on the team, or by students, or by parents. What was?
So ends up that there's two political groups that have formed in Pembroke, and I had no idea that existed.
Okay.
And so those two parties are kind of both extreme, I guess, in both those groups. They're just social media groups, I presume. But they have websites.
Okay.
And one of them, on our second meeting, which was February 3rd, for the school committee meeting, I've spoken 4 times now. In the second meeting, we had such support and such an outpouring of we get it, we hear your experience, and we were with you, that there was probably a good 30 people who wanted to come and support. Mm-hmm. 2 of which came that were detransitioners.
Oh, okay.
And I had never met them before. I said, thank you for coming. I really appreciate your story. They got up and they spoke about how unfair it is and how their experience has been really, really hard for going through being told that they are the opposite gender. It was 1 boy, 1 girl. Mm-hmm. 1 male, 1 female, I should say. And how when they finally, years later, they were young teens, years later figured out, oh, this actually isn't who I truly am. I've been kind of schemed into thinking that. Mm-hmm. That's not me. And so they've detransitioned, but it's already too late. Yeah. For the female,
did they go through?
She went through. She went through all of the medical interventions, and she was talking about how, but she still, she actually did play on the boys' team for her sport, and couldn't compete. Yeah. Biologically,
right.
And she has long-lasting effects, anatomically, physiologically. Yeah. She will withstand those for the rest of her life. In any case, their stories were powerful, and it brought me to tears at that meeting. Yeah. Because it was such there's so much more to this issue of just a sport, that there's also just
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right. No, that's the surface of it. That's just a symptom of what we're dealing with. One thing I think we should be very clear about, and I want to be very clear about this I don't blame these kids at all. This is not their fault. I mean, 100% from start to finish, this is the adults in their lives that manipulated them, told them lies, did unspeakable things to their psyche, their emotions, and their body. And it needs to end. And let me be super, super clear on this to everybody. And this is where I get disappointed when there's sort of a line that I'm seeing in politics now. It's like people are like, well, no boys competing in girls' sports. Well, agreed. Okay, fair enough. That's the symptom. But why don't we go back a few steps to the root cause? Because this is totally unfair to those young people. They are being robbed of decisions in their adulthood because, it's one thing when they're a kid and it's another when they're adult. I'm not saying I agree with it as when people are adults, but at least they are of legal age to make decisions and are more mature enough to understand the ramifications of what they can do. And you know what? At some point you go, it's your life. What am I going to say? It probably doesn't affect me that much or women to a much lesser degree than when they're minors. And so there's a very clear dividing line. And when we see this about these kids are not at fault. It's not their fault. 100%. It is the adults in their lives that have told them this lie. And it's real sad. And I you feel for them. Right. And clearly you did at that school committee meeting, but I commend them for stepping up and speaking out because it's really important that they do.
The fact of the matter here is we're talking about children, period.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I felt like the school committee really needed to step up. And I feel like the MIA really should evaluate their decisions and their take on Title IX. When it comes to some of the other language that I've heard, how there's these students that are feeling extreme sadness and depression in their youth, and that is a reason for them to be transitioning, right? And so there was one study that came up in the second meeting as well that was from the CDC talking about that and how that they're more bullied and how they have extreme sadness. But we really need to further the discussion, the dialogue on this piece, because these children, there's so many studies, including one that just came out this month in 2026, that also talks about how even after transition and after medical intervention, those numbers don't necessarily
they don't
decrease.
Move. They don't move.
There's still depression. There's still suicide risk. There's still these other really
there's
extreme issues.
Yeah, there's a moral manipulation that takes place by those and people in power who it's sort of moral blackmail in the sense where they'll say, well, you've got to do these medical interventions with these young people or they'll kill themselves. And you go, hang on, well, they're blackmailing people with that type of intimidation. And you go, and to people go, oh my goodness, well, no, we have to have that take place. But what they're not saying is exactly what you just pointed out in the studies. The actual numbers point out that, no, it doesn't make any difference even into adulthood, and people still suffer from the same issues that they say that they think that these transing medical interventions will fix, but they don't fix them.
So these scientific research studies they're back from 2011. I mean, there's years of evidence.
Oh, no, there's a lot of evidence out there now. Yeah.
So let's also move further to say, with this issue with sports, you cannot include trans people at the expense of excluding women and girls.
Yeah, great point. Yeah.
So you can't keep bringing up this issue without actually excluding others. So their dialogue isn't really equal here.
No, the hypocrisy. I mean, look, you came to the right place if you want people to point out the hypocrisy of progressives in positions of power. Yeah, it makes no sense. Yeah. But here's the problem, and maybe I'll be a bit repetitive here, and I apologize to the audience and to you. It's just like, well, yeah, they're hypocrites. It doesn't need to make sense in their mind. They can say, well, you're excluding these people. It's like, well, yes, we are. Because they should be excluded. The studies that show that it doesn't bear any benefit to the people who undergo it doesn't matter. Well, we're gonna say it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway because it becomes more about a power situation and adhering to an ideology. And I think a lot of it is ego. Nobody wants to admit they're wrong. I mean, if you think about it, how many people have been making money off of this? Have been put in positions of influence because of this, and if this all starts to unravel, so does their world. I think there's a huge problem in our politics for sure, but definitely in education. There's a lot of money going through these the flags that you see in those schools. A lot of organizations that get grants. That our tax dollars it filters through. We covered this on episode 2 of these sort of insidious little things that happen. So we're up against a lot. We really are. But yeah. So but steps like this that you're undertaking are where we can get to that start to unravel it and start to move it back in the right direction.
So last year, in February of 2025, Department of Education, federal government is investigating the MIAA.
Yeah. Oh.
We haven't actually seen results of that just yet.
Okay.
But it's under investigation.
Yeah.
So the MIAA, on their website and part of their rules, cites Title IX. Now, Title IX was created for women and to make sure that women in education had equal rights.
And it's a very good thing. I think Title IX is great. I think the opportunities that women have been afforded have given them access to education, have led to the development of explosion in professional female sports, new industries, all of it. Even when you think about the downstream effects of it, the endorsement deals, the manufacturing jobs that are created from superstar female athletes, and the new products that come out for all related around that. I mean, Title IX has done a lot of good. Yeah. And
but now it's being twisted is what's happening. It's being twisted in the fact that they're using the terminology incorrectly. Yeah. So instead of saying we're going to protect this minority class, women, now they're saying that there's this subset of boys who think they are girls who are now identifying as. So this gender identity term is hugely what we need to be focusing on here.
Yeah.
We need to start getting the words right. We need to start talking about the biological sex of a person, period. That's what the Olympics is now doing.
It's been slow, but it's coming around.
But the IOC of the Olympics actually made it so that we will be checking chromosomes and we will do a very quick cheek swab.
Yep.
And that's how they know which. And it's just a one-time deal. Once an athlete enters the Olympics, that athlete can now get that one swab for the rest of their athletic career. Yeah. And they know that that female can be on the female teams and the males can be on the male teams, period.
The funny part about this is the higher levels are the ones that are going to be changing the first. Because the IOC, I mean, in professional sports, it's not bleeding through too much, and probably will filter down from there to colleges. And last, unfortunately, will be, high schools in areas that are politically aligned against it. And we live in one of those areas, is the sad fact of it. In Massachusetts, I think the more people realize what's going on, through efforts like yourself and what you're doing, it will change, but it's going to take time. So, you had sent me an article, actually, so I was looking it up. I don't have it on screen, but we can talk through it. Is that the Supreme Court has heard two cases that are related, right? That basically states past laws that's saying exactly what you're talking about. Yep. No biological males playing in female sports. Straightforward. And of course, they were challenged, right? There were lawsuits that went forward for both of those cases. They're going to, the Supreme Court is going to sort of hear them as one. I forget what the legal term is. And we might find out in a couple months, say this summer, when those decisions are made, when the Supreme Court releases all those decisions, when they write them up and all those things. So that's great. I think we're optimistic in that sense that there'll be change that will take place. But unfortunately, those laws aren't in Massachusetts, right? They're in other states, so the laws stay as is here until we pass laws that comport more to what we normal
and have definitions of things and have the right terms based on those definitions.
Yeah,
biological sex needs to be across the board.
Correct. Yeah. No. And I think we're seeing now there's a lot of lawsuits taking place from perhaps individuals that spoke at the second Pembroke School Committee meeting. People that are going through detransitioning and the effects that they've had on their bodies and their psyches. There's a lot of lawsuits that are happening. I think that will start to unwind a lot of where this starts, but we still have a long way to go. And unfortunately, politics does affect this. If we want laws on the books that say biological female or biological sex is the determining factor, not gender identity, I'm going to look into the camera here. Folks, you got to vote for people who are going to pass those laws. And that's just the reality. The school committee members, I get maybe some of them might just flat out disagree with you, but some of them are too scared to do anything. They're way downstream of it. Even if they change it at Pembroke schools, it's just in the town. It might not. The MIA is a state organization, so they're going to do what whoever the governor is or whoever is in charge of the legislature for their funding and who gets appointed to those boards. It's very political.
What I'm learning on this political front in Pembroke in particular, because of this issue, is that there are those that claim that they are independent, but yet keep voting in extreme ways.
Oh, of course.
So we're seeing that school committee, we're seeing that everywhere.
Yeah, they're not registered for either Democrats or Republicans, but they'll say, "Oh, so I'm unenrolled," but really they lean one side primarily. Yes. Yeah, that happens quite a bit, unfortunately. I can say the way this changes is people run, when the school committee elections come around, new candidates need to step up.
Absolutely.
They need to step up. And school committee races are the kind of races you can win. Identify your voters. And these are the types of things that, political operations, I'm against this stuff, right? I'm more, this is a podcast for the Massachusetts Republican Party, right? We want to get people elected that all align with this, and our candidates are agreeing with you, right? So but we need to make that happen. It can happen at school committee level, and if you get every school committee in the Commonwealth, maybe except for Cambridge, you'll actually affect a change, and that filters up to state rep, that filters up to the state senate and governor, and so on and so forth, and the tide is changing. I'm optimistic about this. I'm just not optimistic about the timeline, right? I don't know how soon it's going to change. So I encourage people out there listening and watching to get involved. It's way past time to get involved if you care about this stuff. And you can do that either by running yourself or supporting somebody who is running. And
I fight through the weeds a little bit to make sure that you know where they stand.
Oh, yeah.
They're claiming to not.
Okay.
Claiming to be in that middle ground. But what I'm seeing is completely the opposite of that.
Okay. So they'll just tell you one thing and then act in a different way.
Yeah.
Well, even at school committee, politicians are doing that. Okay. What else would you like to say? Because we've been talking a bit here, and we've some really good things. I think the audience has gotten to know what you're going through and probably identifies quite a bit So I want to make sure that if there's anything else that you'd like to touch on, there's some things I'd like to show. There's some clips to kind of give the audience a flavor of what we're up against. But I want to allow you, more time if there's anything else you wanted to touch on.
Maybe it's just the safety piece along those lines that we were talking about. The school committee in Dighton-Rehoboth has really stepped up for girls' sports.
Okay, so that's a bright spot. That's great.
Bright spot. Unfortunately, it was through a really tragic event where one of their student athletes was severely hurt. It was a field hockey team that played 2 years ago. It was DR versus Swampscott.
Yeah.
And after her trauma,
yeah,
the DR school committee and superintendent stepped up.
Right.
And they listened to their constituents. And they really made a difference. The school committee ended up funneling so much support. They ended up going into the State House, and they made a difference. They actually made the language change for girls' sports.
Fantastic.
This was about a year ago that they finally actually got it done. That any female team or athlete is allowed to forfeit from an opponent a game if they know that there's a male on the opposite team.
Okay.
Without any penalty.
With no penalty. Okay.
Now, here I am with a track and field athlete, same as swimming, where it's an individual time. And so that changes things. This situation that I'm talking about is completely different. Hence, I love what DR did, and they rock stars over there. But there's so much more to this that we need to continue on with. Because my track athlete needs to get that time. She wants to make it to nationals again. She wants to move on. And so in order to make that happen, she can't be kicked out of her place.
Yeah. There's a lot more work to do. I want to show the clip right now from that so people understand what is taking place here. This is from November of 2023, so 3 years ago. So we're at 2.5 years. Yeah. Yeah. So she took a ball right to the face, right?
Yes, it was her face.
And then the girls are screaming.
Gives me shivers all over.
Yeah.
And the extensive trauma that she suffered as a result of this boy hitting a ball to her face.
Yeah. It's serious
feel
stuff.
For that family.
It's serious stuff. And
I don't ever want to see that happening to my children.
Yeah.
And so that's why I felt like I need to speak out.
Yeah.
So safety is a concern, 1,000%.
Yeah. No, it's a huge part of it. Look, I have a daughter. She's an athlete. Okay. And she's still young, and it's, I want to teach her that, and she's better than a fair amount of boys at the sport. But there's a difference when, you're, say, faster, or, you're maybe more coordinated versus size and strength. Mm-hmm. And men, because of thousands of years of evolution, we are physically stronger, denser bones, all of that stuff. And we're able to throw things harder and run into people with more force, and all of that. And all of that comes into play in athletics, comes into play in basketball, comes into play in soccer, certainly in field hockey, where we're, all of that, it comes into play. And we really need to be better about, again, this is where back to the beginning of the show. Dads need to step it up. They need to be front and center, not front and center, side by side with moms. Okay. And they need to be a part of this and making it happen, to protect our daughters who play sports, but also to empower them to understand that. I think this is an example. So I know no matter what happens with your daughter, she's seeing you do this, and that is a great example for her, right? Stepping up, because having a parent as an example that is willing to do the right thing in spite of the slings and arrows that you know that they're going to face is huge. So even if you're not successful by the time she graduates, which I hope you are, and I think everybody watching hopes you are, but that lessons that she's seeing right now is going to be priceless and going to do her so. Look, I don't know your daughter. I don't know how good she is. Olympics is a great dream. I wanted to play point guard for the Boston Celtics. It didn't happen. So I mean, as we're young, we always have dreams of athletic glory. And then, you realize that, okay, I'm 6'4.5", and that's pretty tall relatively. There are guys who are 6'8", and there are guys, there's you can't coach tall, as they used to say. So, if your daughter makes it to the Olympics, I'll be cheering for her full voice. But if she doesn't, she's going to learn a huge lesson from what you're doing to step up. And I'm going to say this. I want to wrap this up because we've gone a while actually. So there's been a great conversation. But and I'm speaking for myself here. I'm speaking for, this is a show. This is a political show. And if people really want to change things, they need to vote differently. And that's, my opinion, but I think that's an opinion that is valid. And you're not coming here as a political person. You're coming here as a mom. And I want that to be clear to the audience and everybody at home. But what changes things is change. Electoral change, people in positions of power making rules that are different than the rules that are now. And that doesn't happen if we have one-party domination on Beacon Hill, if we have Maura Healey as governor, if we have Ed Markey as senator. I'm going to play a clip. This is what we're up against, and I think it's important. Yeah, it's a quick clip here. This is Ed Markey. Recently, a couple months ago.
I will not stand by while they target transgender people, demonizing trans kids, banning them from schools and sports, and trying to erase their very existence from public life. Trans rights are human rights.
So he is an unhinged octogenarian. And he represents us in the United States Senate. And that is what we're up against, right? People who are actively promoting it. No come to the middle, no negotiation, come on, just listen to both sides. Just straight up, these hyperbolic language, erasure, kick them out of schools. It's like, you know what? Maybe somebody on the internet said that somewhere, but really people aren't talking about that. No one's talking about kicking them out of schools. No one wants to erase them. We actually care for them and want them to live happy and productive lives, and we disagree with the way that that's happening. But what he's saying this to rally to a cause that I think is diminishing day by day. It's unfortunate because this is the type of stuff where we don't talk things through and cooler heads prevail and normalcy reigns. You have extremes. With this. So elections matter.
Where do all feminists go? That's what I want to know.
One of them wrote Harry Potter and was getting a big
is adamant about this situation and this whole she has been
caught a lot of flack too.
Wonderful advocate.
Yeah.
And getting a lot of flack.
Yeah. I mean, there are some outliers. Martina Navratilova, who I don't agree with on just about like 99% of politics, but she's been pretty adamant about this one. And there is and are people they're speaking out. I think the tide is turning. I think we're at maybe the end of the beginning and the beginning of the end, so to speak, but we still have a long ways to go, right? And men like Ed Markey, women like Maura Healey, who are holding on to this as a political cudgel, are going to do more damage down the line. I mean, the fact that he said trans kids, it's again, like, I think there's nefarious elements at play where it's like, since I don't want any adult putting forth any form of sexual ideology to my kid, no parent should. Because we should take it to the point of like, well, I don't trust you, and every other parent should say, yeah, I don't trust any of you, and let's remove it. But you can't get to that point, because they want it in there, and even a point of neutrality where it's like, how about nothing? How about we don't talk about it at all? No flags, no subject matter in schools, just pull it all out. Their answer is no. And we're up against a lot, and there's money behind it, there's political power behind it, and we really have to be unified and not back down. So, Chrissy, I really appreciate you coming on. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. Don't give up the fight. Good luck to your daughter, and good luck to you in moving this forward. We will prevail. And our daughters, our daughters will learn valuable life lessons from this, and they're really gonna thrive in the future because of it. So I think unfortunately we're gonna have to go through this tumultuous time now, but we'll come out on top in the end, and so will they, which is the important thing. So, anything else you'd like to say before we close out?
Let's make competition fair again.
Yeah. So throughout the episode, Chrissy can't see this, but I've been putting up an email address on the graphic for her. So if you like to reach out and help her or get organized in your town, your city, your town, I'm sure she has a lot of valuable information for you to send over and perhaps assist her, and she can assist you in all those great things. But I'll leave that up to you. Yeah, put the email on the screen for people to reach out. If you'd like to help get candidates elected that disagree with these policies, go to the link on the screen and help us out and vote Republican. Sorry, Chrissy's not saying that. I'm saying that. But really, if you don't vote for different people, you're going to get what you always got. So with that, I want to thank you one more time for coming on. I think this has been valuable for people to listen to. I hope people share this episode throughout social media. I know these long-form conversations and everybody wants the TikTok clip of 10 seconds, but sometimes you need to talk things through to really get an understanding of what's going on. So until next time, thank you very much and for watching Back to Normal. Have a great day.
Thank you.